You know that sinking feeling when you look back at another month of broken promises to yourself? Another fitness routine abandoned after 2 weeks? Another business idea that flickered bright for a few days, then died in the darkness of your inconsistency? Another skill you swore you would master, now buried under the weight of your own good intentions? You are tired of being the person who starts strong but fades fast. You are exhausted by your own pattern of bursts of motivation followed by long stretches of nothing. Deep down, you know you have the capacity for greatness, but you have become a prisoner of your own inconsistent nature. But what if I told you that the distance between who you are today and who you were meant to become is not measured in giant leaps or moments of inspiration? What if the bridge to your transformed life is built with nothing more than the simple act of showing up every single day to do one small thing? Today, you will discover the hidden power that separates those who dream from those who achieve. You will learn why forcing yourself to be consistent is not about willpower or motivation, but about a fundamental shift in your identity. This is not about becoming a person who occasionally does great things. This is about becoming a person who cannot help but succeed, because success has become woven into the very fabric of who you are. The person who commits to one push-up every day for a year will transform their relationship with their body. The person who writes one paragraph every day will become a writer. The person who makes one sales call every day will master the art of persuasion, not because these actions are magical, but because consistency rewrites your identity at the deepest level. This is your moment to stop being the person who waits for inspiration and start being the person who creates momentum. This is your invitation to join the ranks of those who understand that small actions, repeated with unwavering commitment, compound into extraordinary results. If you are ready to finally become the consistent person you have always known you could be, then subscribe to this channel right now, because what I am about to share with you will not just change what you do, it will change who you are. Number 1, the importance of consistency for success. You know that hollow feeling in your chest when you realize another week has passed and you have made no meaningful progress toward what you claim to want most. You have talent, you have ideas, you have moments of brilliant clarity where everything seems possible. But those moments fade like morning mist, leaving you exactly where you started, questioning whether you have what it takes to build something lasting. The cruel truth is that talent without consistency is merely potential energy that never converts to kinetic force. It is like having a match but never striking it against the surface that creates fire. Your inspired moments are worthless if they remain isolated islands in an ocean of mediocrity. Think of consistency as the slow, steady pressure that transforms coal into diamond. It is not the explosive force that shatters rock, but the persistent weight that reshapes the very structure of what you are becoming. Most people mistake intensity for progress, but intensity without consistency is like a firework that lights up the sky for 3 seconds and leaves only smoke. I once knew a man who could write the most beautiful prose when inspiration struck him. His words could move mountains when the muse whispered in his ear. But he wrote only when he felt like it, only when the stars aligned perfectly with his emotions. Years passed, and while others who wrote daily with less natural talent published books and built careers, he remained trapped in the prison of his own potential, forever waiting for lightning to strike twice. The moment you understand that greatness is not built in bursts, but in the quiet accumulation of daily decisions, everything changes. Your relationship with your goals transforms from romantic fantasy to practical construction. You stop waiting for permission from your emotions and start showing up regardless of how you feel. Here is what you must do today. Choose one action that moves you toward your most important goal. Not 3 actions, not a complex system. One simple, repeatable action that you can perform every single day for the next 90 days. It could be writing 1 paragraph, making 1 phone call, doing 10 push-ups, or reading 5 pages. The size matters less than the sustainability. Make this promise to yourself and understand that every day you keep it, you are not just completing a task. You are becoming the type of person who does what they say they will do. You are building the foundation upon which all future victories will rest. Consistency is not just about what you accomplish. It is about who you become in the process of accomplishing it. The person who shows up every day, regardless of mood or circumstance, develops a strength that no external force can shake. This person becomes unstoppable not because they are perfect, but because they are predictable in their commitment to growth. Stop measuring your worth by your inspired moments. Start measuring it by your willingness to act when inspiration is nowhere to be found. Number 2, discipline as a substitute for motivation. You have been deceived by the greatest lie ever told to ambitious minds. You have been taught to wait for motivation like a peasant waits for rain, hoping that some external force will descend from the heavens and fill you with the energy to act. But while you wait for motivation to visit you, your dreams die of neglect, your goals collect dust, and your potential withers like fruit left unpicked on the vine. Motivation is a fair weather friend. It shows up when you feel good, when circumstances align, when the sun is shining on your ambitions. But where is motivation? When your body aches, when failure stings your pride, when the voice in your head whispers that you are not enough. Motivation abandons you precisely when you need it most, leaving you paralyzed in the moments that matter. Discipline is the fire that burns independent of external conditions. Unlike motivation, which flickers with your emotions, discipline burns steady and constant, fueled not by feelings but by decision. It is the internal furnace that keeps you moving when every fiber of your being wants to stop, when your bed calls louder than your dreams, when comfort feels more appealing than conquest. Consider the blacksmith who shapes steel not when he feels inspired but when the iron is hot. He does not wait for the perfect mood to strike the anvil. He lights the forge every morning before dawn, not because he loves the heat and sweat, but because he knows that mastery lives on the other side of repetition. Each strike of his hammer, whether delivered with enthusiasm or exhaustion, contributes to the final masterpiece. The shift happens when you realize that feelings are not instructions. Your emotions are weather patterns passing through the landscape of your consciousness, but they are not the compass that should guide your actions. The disciplined mind learns to observe its resistance without obeying it, to acknowledge its tiredness without surrendering to it. Build discipline like you build muscle through progressive resistance. Start with small acts that require you to override your immediate impulses. Take a cold shower when you want warmth. Wake up 15 minutes earlier when you want more sleep. Choose the harder path when the easier one beckons. Each time you act against your immediate desire, you strengthen the neural pathways of self-command. Create systems that make discipline easier than its absence. Remove the friction from the actions you want to repeat and add friction to the behaviors you want to eliminate. The disciplined person does not rely on superhuman willpower, but on intelligent design of their environment and habits. Understand that discipline is not punishment. It is freedom. The undisciplined mind is a slave to its impulses, blown about by every wind of emotion and circumstance. But the disciplined mind chooses its responses, directs its energy, and creates its reality through conscious action. Every morning you wake up, you face the same choice. Will you be governed by how you feel, or will you be directed by what you have decided? Will you wait for motivation to rescue you, or will you rescue yourself through the power of disciplined action? The fire of discipline burns brightest in the darkness of difficulty. Light that fire today and keep it burning regardless of the storms that come. Number 3, repetition as identity builder. You have been living a lie about who you are. You define yourself by your intentions, your aspirations, your moments of peak performance, but these are mirages in the desert of self-deception. You are not who you think you are. You are not who you say you are. You are not even who others think you are. You are what you repeatedly do when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, when no one cares whether you follow through or give up. Your identity is not forged in the grand gestures that make good stories. It is carved in the quiet moments when you choose between the easy path and the right path, between what you want now and what you want most. Every repeated action is a vote in the election of who you are becoming. The candidate with the most votes wins, regardless of which candidate you claim to support. Think of identity as a riverbank shaped by the constant flow of water. The river does not reshape the landscape through one massive flood, but through the persistent pressure of countless drops moving in the same direction day after day, year after year. Your habits are the river, and your character is the landscape it creates. Change the direction of the flow, and you change the shape of who you become. I knew a woman who called herself a writer but wrote only when inspiration struck, which was perhaps once a month. Meanwhile, her neighbor, who worked as an accountant, wrote 300 words every morning before breakfast. Who was the real writer? The one with the title or the one with the practice? After 2 years, the accountant had completed 3 novels, while the self-proclaimed writer had finished 3 chapters. Identity belongs to those who earn it through repetition, not those who claim it through declaration. The moment you understand that you become what you repeatedly do, everything changes. You stop worrying about whether you feel like a successful person and start asking whether you are doing what successful people do. You stop trying to convince yourself that you are disciplined and start proving it through disciplined actions. You stop talking about who you want to be and start voting for that person with your daily choices. Every morning, you cast votes for your future self. When you wake up early, you vote for the person who takes control of their day. When you exercise, you vote for the person who values their health. When you read instead of scrolling, you vote for the person who chooses growth over entertainment. When you work on your goals before checking your phone, you vote for the person who prioritizes purpose over popularity. The person who exercises once is not fit, but the person who exercises daily becomes a fit person. The person who writes 1 article is not a writer, but the person who writes daily becomes a writer. The person who acts with kindness once is not kind, but the person who chooses kindness repeatedly becomes a kind person. Change your daily rituals, and you change your destiny. Start where you are, with what you have, doing what you can. If you want to become a reader, read 1 page every day. If you want to become strong, do 1 push-up every day. If you want to become wise, learn 1 new thing every day. The size of the action matters less than the consistency of the repetition. Your current identity is simply the result of what you have repeatedly done up until this moment. But your future identity is still being written, 1 repeated action at a time. Stop trying to become who you want to be through willpower alone. Start voting for that person with your daily habits, and watch as the person you are becoming slowly but inevitably becomes the person you are. Number 4, the impact of invisible effort. You crave recognition for your efforts, applause for your attempts, acknowledgement for your struggles. You want the world to witness your transformation, to validate your progress, to celebrate your small victories. But this hunger for external validation is slowly poisoning your relationship with growth itself. True transformation happens in the silent spaces where no cameras roll, no audiences cheer, and no social media posts capture the moment. The most powerful work you will ever do happens in complete obscurity. It happens when you choose to practice your craft at 5 in the morning while the world sleeps. It happens when you resist temptation with no one around to praise your restraint. It happens when you push through resistance in moments when quitting would go completely unnoticed. This invisible effort is not just part of your journey. It is the foundation upon which all visible success is built. Think of an iceberg floating majestically in the ocean. What captures attention is the brilliant white peak piercing the surface. But what gives the iceberg its power and stability is the massive foundation hidden beneath the water. Your public achievements are merely the tip of your invisible efforts. Every moment of recognition, every breakthrough that others witness, every success that brings applause rests upon a foundation of countless hours that no one saw, no one recorded, and no one rewarded. Consider the concert pianist whose fingers dance across the keys with seeming effortlessness, bringing audiences to tears with beauty that appears to flow from some divine source. What the audience never sees are the 10,000 hours of practice in empty rooms, the bleeding fingertips from repetition, the nights spent working through frustration when the music sounded more like noise than art. The standing ovation lasts 3 minutes, but the invisible preparation lasted 3 decades. The shift happens when you fall in love with the process rather than the recognition, when you find satisfaction in the work itself rather than in others seeing you do the work. When you understand that the person you become through consistent, invisible effort is worth infinitely more than any temporary applause you might receive. Embrace the monastery of your ambitions. Create sacred spaces and times where you commune with your craft without any intention of sharing the results. Read books that no one will quiz you on. Practice skills that no one will immediately reward. Develop character in moments when character costs you something but gains you nothing visible. Measure your progress not by what others can see, but by what you can feel changing within yourself. The increased confidence that comes from keeping promises to yourself. The growing strength that emerges from pushing through resistance. The deepening wisdom that accumulates through persistent study. These internal transformations are invisible to others but invaluable to you. Stop waiting for external validation to fuel your efforts. The most successful people in history learned to generate their own momentum, to find satisfaction in excellence itself rather than in recognition of excellence. They understood that the work they did in private would eventually be revealed in public, but they did not let that future possibility dictate their present dedication. Every day you show up to do invisible work, you make deposits in a bank account that compounds without limit. Every moment you choose growth over comfort in the absence of witnesses, you strengthen the internal foundation that will support any external structure you choose to build. The world is starving for people who will do excellent work whether anyone is watching or not. Become that person, and eventually the world will have no choice but to take notice. Number 5, the cycle of breaking personal promises. You have become your own worst enemy, and you do not even realize it. Every time you promise yourself you will start tomorrow and then do not start. Every time you commit to a goal and then abandon it when it becomes inconvenient. Every time you make a plan and then negotiate with yourself out of following it, you are slowly destroying the most important relationship in your life, the relationship with yourself. Your subconscious mind is keeping a detailed record of every promise you make and every promise you break. It notes when you say you will wake up early and then hit snooze. It records when you commit to exercise and then choose the couch instead. It documents when you pledge to eat better and then reach for comfort food when stress appears. This internal scorekeeper is not judging you, but it is adjusting its expectations of what you will actually do based on what you have repeatedly done. The cruelest part of this cycle is that each broken promise makes the next one easier to break. Your mind begins to treat your commitments to yourself as suggestions rather than contracts. Your word to yourself loses its power because your actions have taught you that your word has no real weight. You begin to doubt, not just your ability to change, but your worthiness to even attempt change. Think of self-trust like a bank account. Every kept promise makes a deposit. Every broken promise makes a withdrawal. Most people are running massive overdrafts in their self-trust accounts, wondering why they feel empty and doubtful about their capacity to create change. They have spent years writing checks their character could not cash. I once met a man who had promised himself he would quit smoking for 15 years. Each new year brought the same resolution, the same hope, the same ultimate failure. By the time I met him, he no longer believed his own promises. He would make commitments with a voice that already carried the expectation of defeat. His promise had become a ritual of self-deception rather than a genuine contract for change. His mind had learned that his promises were meaningless, so it stopped taking them seriously. The transformation begins the moment you understand that your relationship with yourself is the foundation of your relationship with everything else. If you cannot trust yourself to do what you say you will do, how can you expect others to trust you? If you cannot rely on your own word, how can you rely on your own potential? Start rebuilding your self-trust with promises so small that breaking them would be almost impossible. If you have not exercised in years, do not promise to work out for an hour every day. Promise to do one push-up. If you want to read more, do not commit to finishing a book each week. Commit to reading one page each day. If you want to meditate, do not pledge to sit for 30 minutes. Pledge to sit for 30 seconds. The size of the promise is irrelevant. What matters is that you make the promise and then keep it, without exception, without negotiation, without compromise. Each kept promise rebuilds your credibility with yourself. Each kept promise proves that you are becoming someone who does what they say they will do. Treat your promises to yourself with the same seriousness you would treat promises to someone you deeply respect. Your future self is depending on your current self to keep the commitments that will create the life you want to live. Stop making promises you do not intend to keep. Start making promises you cannot help but keep. Watch as your confidence in your own potential grows, with every promise honored, every commitment fulfilled, every word to yourself proven true. Number 6, how to build self-confidence through action. You have been searching for confidence in all the wrong places. You think it will come from others telling you how capable you are, from achieving some external milestone that proves your worth, from waiting until you feel ready to act. But true confidence cannot be given to you by anyone else, and it will never arrive through thinking or planning or preparing. Confidence is born in the sacred space between promise and performance, between intention and action, between what you say you will do and what you actually do. Most people have this backwards. They wait to feel confident before they act, but confidence is not the prerequisite for action. It is the reward for action. It is not something you need before you begin. It is something you earn as you proceed. Every time you follow through on a commitment when it would be easier to quit, every time you push past discomfort when comfort calls, every time you choose growth over safety, you make another deposit in your confidence account. Real confidence is not the absence of fear or doubt. It is the knowledge that you will act despite fear and doubt. It is not the feeling that you can handle anything, but the proven experience that you have handled difficult things before and survived them. It is not the belief that you will not fail, but the certainty that if you do fail, you will get back up and try again. Consider the story of a young woman who was terrified of public speaking but knew her career depended on overcoming this fear. She did not wait until she felt confident to speak in public. Instead, she committed to giving one small presentation each month, regardless of how she felt. The first few presentations were disasters. Her voice shook, her hands trembled, and she forgot half of what she planned to say. But something magical happened with each attempt. Not immediate confidence, but evidence. Evidence that she could survive the fear. Evidence that she could function despite discomfort. Evidence that each time was slightly less terrifying than the last. The breakthrough comes when you realize that confidence is not a feeling you wait for, but a muscle you build through repetition. Each time you do something that scares you, that muscle grows stronger. Each time you follow through when you do not want to, that muscle grows more reliable. Each time you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought you could, that muscle grows more powerful. Stop asking yourself if you feel confident enough to act. Start asking what action you can take today that will build confidence for tomorrow. The person who waits to feel confident will wait forever. The person who acts without confidence will soon discover that confidence was following close behind. Build confidence through micro-victories that no one else sees or celebrates. Keep a promise to yourself to wake up 10 minutes earlier each day for a week. Complete a small task you have been avoiding. Have a difficult conversation you have been postponing. These actions may seem insignificant to others, but they are profound to the person taking them because they prove that you are becoming someone who does hard things. Document your evidence of capability. When self-doubt creeps in, you will have proof to counter it with. Keep a record of promises kept, challenges overcome, fears faced, and obstacles conquered. Not for others to see, but for you to remember who you really are when the voice of inadequacy tries to convince you otherwise. Confidence is not inherited or gifted or discovered. It is constructed, one action at a time, one kept promise at a time, one moment of courage at a time. The person you are becoming through consistent action is the most confident version of yourself you will ever meet. Stop waiting for permission from your emotions to act with confidence. Start acting with purpose and watch as confidence naturally follows. Number 7, the internal conflict, the quitter versus the doer. Every morning when you open your eyes, two voices begin their eternal battle for control of your day. One voice whispers seductively about comfort, ease, and the safety of staying exactly where you are. It speaks eloquently about why today is not the right day to start, why you should wait for better circumstances, why you deserve to rest just a little longer. This is the voice of the quitter that lives inside you, and it is more dangerous than any external enemy you will ever face. The other voice speaks more quietly but with unwavering strength about possibility, growth, and the person you could become if you just took the next right action. It reminds you of promises you have made to yourself, dreams you have carried, and the cost of another day spent in mediocrity. This is the voice of the doer within you, and it holds the key to every meaningful achievement you will ever accomplish. This is not a battle between good and evil. This is a battle between two different versions of yourself. The quitter is not malicious, merely protective. It has kept you safe from failure by preventing you from trying, safe from disappointment by keeping your expectations low, safe from judgment by ensuring you never put yourself in a position to be evaluated. But this safety comes at the cost of everything you could become. The quitter grows stronger with each victory. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, every time you postpone action in favor of planning, every time you listen to its counsel of caution, you feed it. It becomes more persuasive, more creative in its arguments, more skilled at finding reasons why action should be delayed. Soon, its voice becomes so dominant that you forget the doer even exists. Picture a boxing match where the same fighter represents both corners. In the red corner stands the part of you that wants to quit, take shortcuts, and choose the easy path. In the blue corner stands the part of you that wants to push forward, embrace difficulty, and build something meaningful. Every day, these two fighters step into the ring, and only one can win. The winner gets to control your actions for that day. The loser must wait until tomorrow for another chance. Here is the secret that changes everything. The fighter you feed becomes stronger, and the fighter you starve becomes weaker. Each time you choose action over inaction, you give the doer more strength for tomorrow's fight. Each time you push through resistance instead of surrendering to it, you build the doer's confidence and strategy. Each time you prove that you can do hard things, the quitter's arguments lose their power. You do not need to eliminate the quitter entirely. You simply need to make the doer stronger than the quitter. You do this not through motivation or inspiration, but through the accumulation of evidence. Evidence that you can act when you do not feel like acting. Evidence that you can persist when persisting is difficult. Evidence that you can choose growth when growth is uncomfortable. Start each day by giving the doer an early victory. Before you check your phone, before you allow the day to impose its agenda on you, before the quitter has time to build its case for inaction, take one action that moves you toward your goals. It does not matter how small this action is. What matters is that the doer wins the first battle of the day. The person who wins this internal battle most days becomes unstoppable, not because they never want to quit, but because they have trained the part of them that wants to persist to be stronger than the part that wants to surrender. Victory in this battle is not about perfection. It is about making the doer your dominant voice, the quitter your occasional whisper, and action your automatic response to opportunity. Number 8, the power of personal predictability and integrity. You live in a world where everyone around you is unreliable, including yourself. People make promises they do not keep, commitments they do not honor, and plans they do not follow through on. You have learned to expect disappointment from others, but the cruelest disappointment comes from your own unpredictability. You cannot count on yourself to do what you say you will do, and this unpredictability is quietly destroying your potential. Most people are strangers to themselves. They do not know whether they will wake up early or sleep in, whether they will eat well or reach for comfort food, whether they will work on their goals or scroll through entertainment. They negotiate with themselves constantly, changing their minds based on mood, circumstance, and whim. They are at the mercy of their emotions, blown about by every wind of feeling like ships without anchors. But there exists a rare breed of person who has developed a different relationship with themselves. These individuals have become predictable to themselves. They know that when they make a plan, they will execute it. They know that when they set a goal, they will pursue it. They know that when they face resistance, they will push through it. This predictability is not rigidity, it is reliability. It is the foundation upon which all achievement is built. Think of predictability as your personal operating system. When a computer is predictable, you know that when you click on an application, it will open. When you save a file, it will be saved. When you shut it down, it will turn off. This predictability allows you to build complex projects with confidence because you can rely on the basic functions working as intended. Your personal predictability works the same way. When you can rely on yourself to follow through, you can plan bigger, dream larger, and attempt more ambitious goals. I once knew a businessman whose success seemed to defy explanation. He was not the smartest person in his industry, not the most charismatic, not the most connected. But he had one quality that set him apart from everyone else. When he said he would do something, everyone knew it would be done. When he made an appointment, everyone knew he would be there. When he committed to a deadline, everyone knew he would meet it. This predictability made him incredibly valuable in a world full of unreliable people. His reputation for reliability became his greatest asset. The transformation happens when you decide to become the most reliable person you know, starting with being reliable to yourself. This means doing what you say you will do, even when you do not feel like doing it, even when circumstances change, even when no one else would know if you broke your commitment. This is integrity in its purest form. Create a small set of non-negotiable commitments to yourself and honor them without exception. These might be waking up at a certain time, exercising for a specific duration, reading for a set number of minutes, or working on your goals before checking messages. The specific commitments matter less than your absolute reliability in keeping them. When you become predictable to yourself, something profound shifts in your psychology. You develop an unshakable foundation of self-trust. You know that when challenges arise, you will face them. You know that when opportunities appear, you will seize them. You know that when you decide to change something about your life, the change will happen. This knowledge creates a quiet confidence that no external circumstance can shake. Stop being surprised by your own behavior. Stop wondering whether you will follow through on your plans. Stop hoping that tomorrow you will be different than today. Instead, become so reliable to yourself that your future becomes predictable, your goals become inevitable, and your success becomes a foregone conclusion. The person who can count on themselves to do what they say they will do becomes unstoppable because they carry their own guarantee of success within them. Number 9, the truth about building progress. You have been lied to about what real progress looks like. You have been sold a fantasy of overnight transformations, sudden breakthroughs, and dramatic before and after stories that make it seem like meaningful change happens in moments of inspiration rather than months of perspiration. This lie has set you up for disappointment and made you abandon perfectly good plans because they did not produce Instagram-worthy results fast enough. Real progress is not glamorous. It does not make for compelling social media posts or inspiring highlight reels. Real progress is showing up to do the same basic activities day after day, when nothing seems to be changing, when no one is watching, when you cannot see any visible improvement from your efforts. Real progress is boring, repetitive, and happens so slowly that it is almost imperceptible to the person making it. The most successful people in any field understand that excellence is built in the mundane moments between the exciting milestones. The championship is won not in the final game, but in the thousands of hours of practice when no cameras were rolling. The best-selling book is written not in a weekend of inspiration, but in the daily discipline of putting words on paper, even when the words feel worthless. The strong body is built not in occasional intense workouts, but in consistent, moderate effort that accumulates over time. Picture a bamboo plant in its first year of growth. From the surface, nothing appears to be happening. The plant seems stagnant, wasting the water and nutrients being poured into it. An impatient gardener might abandon it, thinking the seeds were defective. But beneath the soil, an incredible network of roots is spreading, creating the foundation for explosive growth. In the second year, the bamboo shoots up 30 feet in a matter of weeks. The growth was not sudden. It was the visible manifestation of invisible preparation that had been happening all along. The shift happens when you fall in love with the process rather than obsessing over the results, when you find satisfaction in the repetition itself rather than waiting for external validation of your efforts, when you understand that the person you are becoming through consistent effort is more valuable than any specific outcome you might achieve. Embrace the plateau. Every significant skill development involves long periods where you seem to make no progress at all. Your weight stays the same despite consistent exercise. Your writing does not improve despite daily practice. Your business revenue flatlines despite increased effort. These plateaus are not evidence that your strategy is wrong or that you should quit. They are evidence that deep changes are happening beneath the surface that will eventually manifest in ways you can see and measure. Measure progress by consistency rather than results. Ask yourself not whether you achieved your goal today, but whether you showed up to work toward your goal today. Not whether you can see improvement, but whether you put in the effort that leads to improvement. Not whether you feel different, but whether you acted differently than the person you used to be. Create systems that sustain you through the boring middle of any transformation. The beginning is exciting because everything is new. The end is rewarding because you can see the results, but the middle is where most people quit because the novelty has worn off and the results are not yet visible. Build rituals that make the boring parts bearable and the repetitive parts meaningful. The person who can persist through thousands of unremarkable days will eventually experience remarkable results. The person who quits when progress seems slow will never discover what they could have become with just a little more patience. Stop waiting for progress to become exciting. Start finding excitement in the knowledge that every unremarkable day of effort is building something remarkable that others cannot yet see. Number 10, the illusion of waiting for the right moment. You are waiting for a moment that will never come. You tell yourself you will start when you feel ready, when you have more time, when you have more money, when you have more knowledge, when the circumstances align perfectly for your success. But this waiting is not wisdom. It is fear disguised as prudence, procrastination masquerading as preparation, and cowardice wearing the mask of caution. The cruel truth is that you will never feel ready for the things that matter most. You will never have enough time, enough resources, or enough confidence to guarantee success before you begin. The moment of perfect readiness is a mirage that recedes every time you approach it. Every day you wait for better conditions. Those conditions become further away because you are not building the skills and strength that would create them. Readiness is not a prerequisite for action, it is a byproduct of action. You do not become ready by thinking, planning, and preparing endlessly. You become ready by starting before you feel ready and learning what you need to know along the way. The swimmer becomes ready for deep water not by studying swimming theory on the shore, but by getting into the water while it is still shallow enough to stand in. Most people treat starting as something they will do when they are ready, but successful people understand that starting is how they become ready. They know that clarity comes through action, not contemplation. They know that confidence builds through doing, not thinking. They know that the path reveals itself to those who begin walking, not to those who wait for a map. Consider the entrepreneur who spent 3 years researching the perfect business plan, analyzing market conditions, and waiting for the ideal moment to launch. Meanwhile, her competitor started a similar business with half the preparation, learned from real customers instead of theoretical projections, adapted quickly to actual market feedback, and built a thriving company while the first entrepreneur was still planning. The competitor was not more intelligent or talented. She was simply willing to be imperfect in action rather than perfect in preparation. The transformation occurs when you realize that the right moment is always now, and the right conditions are whatever conditions currently exist. You stop asking whether you are ready and start asking what you can do with what you have where you are. You stop waiting for fear to disappear and start acting despite fear. You stop postponing action until you feel confident and start building confidence through action. Take imperfect action today. Choose one small step toward your goal that you can take immediately, with your current resources, in your current circumstances, with your current level of knowledge. It does not need to be the perfect step or the complete solution. It just needs to be the next step. Forward motion creates momentum, and momentum creates more options than planning ever will. Build while you learn instead of learning before you build. The artist improves by creating art, not by studying art theory. The leader develops by leading, not by reading leadership books. The writer becomes skilled by writing, not by taking writing courses. Knowledge gained through action is deeper, more practical, and more valuable than knowledge gained through study alone. Set deadlines for decisions, not for readiness. Give yourself 1 week to decide whether to start that business, not 1 year to feel ready to start it. Give yourself 1 day to decide whether to have that difficult conversation, not 1 month to feel comfortable having it. Give yourself 1 hour to decide whether to begin that creative project, not 1 season to feel inspired to begin it. The person who waits for the perfect moment discovers that perfection was the enemy of progress. The person who acts before they feel ready discovers that readiness was much closer than they thought. Stop waiting for the right moment. Start creating it. Number 11. The farmer's metaphor, patience before harvest. You live in a world that promises instant results, immediate gratification, and rapid transformation. You have been conditioned to expect overnight success and quick fixes, but this conditioning has made you impatient with the natural rhythms of growth. You plant seeds on Monday and expect fruit by Friday. You start a workout routine and expect visible results by the end of the week. You begin a new skill and expect mastery by the end of the month. This impatience is killing your potential before it has time to develop. The farmer understands something you have forgotten. He knows that harvest season comes only after planting season, watering season, weeding season, and growing season. He knows that demanding corn in winter or expecting fruit from newly planted trees is not optimism but delusion. He knows that his job is not to speed up natural processes but to faithfully tend to the conditions that allow natural processes to unfold. When the farmer plants corn in spring, he does not return the next day, expecting to see stalks reaching toward the sky. He does not dig up the seeds after a week to check if they are growing. He does not abandon the field after a month because nothing visible has emerged from the soil. He waters, he weeds, he waits. He trusts the process even when he cannot see the progress. He has faith that if he creates the right conditions and maintains them consistently, the harvest will come in its proper season. The most crucial period in any growth process is the time between planting and sprouting, when all the work is happening underground where it cannot be seen or measured. This is when roots establish themselves, when the foundation for all future growth is being laid, when the plant gathers the strength it will need to break through the surface. Most people give up during this period because they mistake invisible progress for no progress. I knew a man who decided to learn piano at the age of 40. For the first 6 months, his playing sounded more like noise than music. His fingers moved clumsily across the keys, and simple melodies seemed impossibly difficult. He was tempted to quit dozens of times, convinced he was too old to learn and lacked natural talent. But he remembered the farmer who does not abandon the field when the seeds do not sprout immediately. He continued practicing daily, trusting that consistent effort would eventually produce results he could not yet see. After a year, melodies began to flow. After 2 years, he was playing complex pieces. After 3 years, he was bringing joy to everyone who heard him play. The music was always possible. He just had to wait for the harvest season. The key is learning to find satisfaction in the planting and tending rather than demanding immediate gratification from the harvest. Fall in love with the daily practices that create long-term results. Find joy in the process of watering your dreams through consistent action, weeding out bad habits through disciplined choices, and protecting your goals through patient persistence. Measure your success not by how much you have harvested, but by how faithfully you have tended your field. Not by what you can see growing above ground, but by the consistency of your care below ground. Not by the speed of your progress, but by the sustainability of your practices. Understand that there are seasons in every meaningful pursuit. There are seasons for learning when progress feels slow, seasons for building when the work is hard, seasons for growing when change accelerates, and seasons for harvesting when results finally become visible. Each season has its purpose, and trying to skip any season will ultimately delay your harvest. Trust the process even when you cannot see the progress. Continue watering your dreams when they seem barren. Keep working when results seem distant. Stay faithful to your practices when doubt whispers that they are not working. The harvest always comes for those who plant wisely and tend faithfully. Your job is not to control when it comes, but to ensure you are still tending the field when it arrives. Number 12, the importance of invisible preparation. You wait for your moment to shine, for your opportunity to arrive, for your chance to prove what you are capable of achieving. But when that moment comes, you will not rise to meet it with superhuman abilities you do not possess. You will not suddenly become more than you have prepared to become. You will fall to the exact level of preparation you have built through countless hours when no one was watching, no one was cheering, and no opportunities seemed imminent. The world sees only the performance, never the preparation. They witness the presentation that changes minds, but not the dozens of practice sessions in empty rooms. They observe the athlete who breaks records, but not the thousands of repetitions that broke down the barriers to greatness. They celebrate the artist whose work moves souls, but not the years of experimenting with techniques that no one will ever see. The spotlight reveals only the tip of the iceberg of effort. Preparation is not what you do when opportunity is approaching. Preparation is what you do when opportunity seems distant, irrelevant, or impossible. It is the investment you make in yourself when there is no guarantee of return, when no one is asking you to invest, when the smart money says you are wasting your time. It is the daily discipline of becoming ready for opportunities that may never come. Every moment you spend developing your skills in private is a moment you are building your capacity to seize opportunities in public. Every hour you dedicate to learning when no test is scheduled is an hour you are expanding your ability to perform when tests arise unexpectedly. Every day you practice your craft without an audience is a day you are preparing for the moment when the audience will be watching. Think of a firefighter who spends months training in controlled environments, learning to navigate smoke-filled buildings, practicing rescue techniques, building physical strength and mental resilience. When the alarm sounds and lives hang in the balance, the firefighter does not rise to become a hero through sudden inspiration. The firefighter falls to the level of preparation that was built through repetition, through simulation, through dedication to excellence when no emergency existed. The cruelest irony is that most people prepare only when preparation is required, study only when tests are announced, practice only when performances are scheduled. They live reactively, always trying to catch up to demands that are placed upon them rather than building capacity before capacity is needed. They wonder why they feel unprepared for life's challenges, never realizing that preparation must come before opportunity, not after. Start preparing for opportunities that do not yet exist. Develop skills that no one is currently asking you to demonstrate. Build knowledge in areas that seem irrelevant to your immediate circumstances. Read books that stretch your thinking. Practice abilities that challenge your comfort zone. Cultivate habits that compound your capabilities over time. Create a personal curriculum that prepares you for the life you want to live, rather than just the life you are currently living. If you want to lead, study leadership, even if no one has asked you to lead. If you want to create, practice creation, even if no one has commissioned your work. If you want to inspire, develop your capacity for inspiration, even if no one needs inspiration from you yet. The person who prepares when preparation seems unnecessary will be ready when readiness seems impossible. The person who builds skills before skills are required will have options when others have only limitations. The person who invests in invisible preparation will discover visible opportunities that others cannot see or seize. Excellence is not an accident. It is not luck. It is not genetic. It is the inevitable result of preparation meeting opportunity. And since you cannot control when opportunities arrive, your only leverage is in the quality and consistency of your preparation. Stop waiting for reasons to prepare. Start preparing for reasons that do not yet exist but might exist tomorrow. Number 13, the role of repetition in shaping destiny. Your destiny is not written in the stars or determined by circumstances beyond your control. Your destiny is being written right now, in this moment, by the choice you are about to make. Every action you take is a vote in the election of your future self, and the candidate with the most votes will win. The question is not whether you will repeat something. The question is what you will choose to repeat. You are already a master of repetition. You have repeated breathing every moment of your life and become a master at staying alive. You have repeated walking until movement became automatic. You have repeated speaking until communication became natural. You have repeated thinking until thought patterns became your personality. The power of repetition is already working in your life. The only question is whether it is working for you or against you. Most people repeat patterns of mediocrity without realizing they are choosing their fate. They repeat the snooze button and become masters of being late. They repeat procrastination and become experts at missing opportunities. They repeat complaint and become specialists in dissatisfaction. They repeat excuse-making and become professionals at avoiding responsibility. Their destiny is not unlucky. It is the inevitable result of what they have chosen to repeat. But repetition is a neutral force that serves whatever master you choose to give it. Just as surely as negative patterns create negative destinies, positive patterns create positive destinies. The person who repeats excellence becomes excellent. The person who repeats courage becomes brave. The person who repeats learning becomes wise. The person who repeats service becomes valuable. The person who repeats persistence becomes unstoppable. Think of repetition as the chisel that carves your character from the raw stone of your potential. Each repeated action strikes another blow, shaping you into the sculpture you are becoming. You cannot take back the blows that have already been struck, but you can decide where to direct the next strike and all the strikes that follow. Every moment is a new opportunity to pick up the chisel and continue carving yourself into the masterpiece you were meant to become. The most profound realization is that you become what you repeatedly do, regardless of what you repeatedly think or say or intend. Your identity is not formed by your goals, but by your actions. Not by your aspirations, but by your habits. Not by what you want to be, but by what you actually do when no one is watching and no one is judging and no one is keeping score. The person who writes every day becomes a writer, even if they never publish. The person who exercises every day becomes fit, even if they never compete. The person who learns every day becomes educated, even if they never graduate. The person who serves every day becomes valuable, even if they are never promoted. The repetition creates the reality, not the other way around. Choose your repetitions with the same care you would choose your destiny, because they are the same choice wearing different clothes. If you want to be wealthy, repeat the actions wealthy people repeat. If you want to be healthy, repeat the actions healthy people repeat. If you want to be wise, repeat the actions wise people repeat. If you want to be happy, repeat the actions happy people repeat. Start small, but start today. Choose one action that represents the person you want to become and repeat it every day for the next 30 days. Not because 30 days will transform you completely, but because 30 days will prove to you that transformation is possible. It will show you that you have more control over your destiny than you ever imagined. Your future self is watching your current choices and hoping you will make the decisions that create the life they want to live. Every repeated action is a message to your future self about what kind of person you are becoming. What message will you send today? Stop hoping for a different destiny. Start repeating different actions. Your fate is not in the hands of the gods. It is in the power of your daily choices, and those choices are entirely within your control. There is a river that flows through the mountains, carving its path not through force but through persistence. Year after year, drop by drop, it shapes the hardest stone into magnificent canyons. The rock yields gradually to the gentle but relentless pressure of water that never stops flowing. You are both the river and the stone. Every day you choose consistency, you become both the sculptor and the sculpture. The person you were yesterday becomes the raw material for the person you are becoming today. This transformation you are experiencing right now is not a destination you will someday reach. It is a way of being you are already becoming. Each moment you choose persistence over comfort, you are not preparing for a future version of yourself, you are becoming that version in real time. The consistent person reaches a point where consistency becomes so natural that it feels like breathing. If this conversation has stirred something within you, then subscribe to continue this journey of transformation. Not because this path requires an audience, but because shared wisdom grows stronger when it flows between minds committed to excellence. The choice you make in the next moment will echo through every moment that follows. Your consistency is your signature on the contract you have made with your potential. Sign it again tomorrow.